Okay. Go ahead. We'll just record them.
It's ungodly. You know how Williamson has that
Doesn't stop. They just keep going.
Oh, yeah. People think it's holy, and he was like calling my boyfriend at 4 o'clock in the morning asking if he want to go drink out the spring. And he would be one of his angels.
Okay. So, what was the last thing we talked about?
Probability.
About?
I don't know.
Well, tell me what the last thing in your notes say.
I don't have a notebook with me. I should probably go get it, but I don't want to.
Yeah, that would, I don't know why I would ask you to do that.
If we excuse ourselves from class, we're going to go get some food.
What is the last thing in the folder, in your notebook?
There's like a little number line that said 0 to 1.
Okay. All right. So, I'm hungry too, but I'm not going to run out of class on y'all because I'm hungry. All right, so there is the Mayberry probability. And that is the theoretical probability. The mathematical probability, or the calculated probability. If I ask you what is the probability of picking a king out of a deck of cards, what would you say?
1 out of 4.
Where's your deck of cards?
Oh wait, did you say?
How did you know that? You don't have a deck of cards.
I draw the sign.
Huh?
Alright, fine, you were.
Where are you going?
I don't have my
Hey,
glasses
come.
on. I'm moving up front.
Oh. Why? How do you know the probability? You don't have a deck of cards. You know it because all deck of cards have a 52 card deck, and all deck of cards have 4. So that is a theoretical. It is calculated. It's mathematical. You don't have a deck of cards that you're sitting there and fumbling through. What's the other one? Well, I call it physical probability. Now you have to look in your book. These are Hubertisms. All right? The physical probability is what you actually do. All right? This is what you actually observe. Actually try or observe. All right, up here I could say the probability of a king is equal to 1 or 4 out of 52. And I don't even have a deck of cards with me because that is theoretical. It is based on all decks of cards with 52 in it. Yes, ma'am.
You spelled theoretical horribly wrong, and it keeps bothering me very much.
There's just no age.
It's not rhetorical. It's
I thought it was theoretical.
yeah, there's no age.
I didn't know that. Thank you. That's why I took math.
My specialty is English, so.
Well,
I'm
good.
struggling
You can
with
keep me
it.
straight. All right, theoretical. So, what would be, okay, let's say that I shuffled a deck of cards one time and got a 2. And I put the card back in. What?
This coffee cup is awful, and I just spilled coffee all over my shirt.
Well, if you had not mentioned it, I would have not even noticed it.
Well, I can
You
feel
bring
it on my
attention to
face.
yourself. Okay. Next one, I hit a 5. I put it back in. I shuffle them up. Next one, I hit a queen. Put it back in. Shuffle it back up. Next one, I hit a king. Shuffle it back up. Next one, I hit an ace. Then I have 1 out of what? 1 out of 5, which is equal to 0.2. Well, 1 out of 5 is not equal to 4 out of 52. All right? Well, how do we get them closer to each other? Well, that's where the large number rule comes in. To get them to be closer, law of large numbers. The law of large numbers basically gives us a chance to make the physical probability catch up to the Mayberry probability or the theoretical probability. And it's a good way to see why, hey, what is CYA in the real world?
Cover your ass.
Good job. Okay? If you're working 15 years from now and you're executive with blah, blah, blah corporation and you're head of quality assurance, are you going to pull, and you got to present to the board, I'll just use an example. Let's say you're working for Mission, all right? And let's say that you're not a tire maker, that you're an executive, quality assurance, and you work in the Crystal Palace up there above Greenville. What's it called? What's that? Where California Dreaming and all that? What's that exit right there?
I just noticed the Greer exit.
What'd you say?
I just noticed the Greer exit.
Okay, well, that's where the Crystal Palace is. Y'all know what it looks like? It's a big old building. It's got about 5 stories. And it looks like Superman's house. I mean, it's just got all this glass. And anyway, that's the Michelin place. And pretty much the division executives work there. Okay? And you're director for quality assurance, and you got to attend the board meeting. And the board meeting, you're going to present how many tires next year will be defective. And then they're going to take that number and they're going to multiply it by all their different regions, and they're going to say, okay, next year we need to put blah, 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 millions of dollars in the budget for defective tires. Okay, so you decide, okay, I got to do mine next week, but I got to I'm just going to go over here to Anderson over here, and I'm just going to pull 15 tires. Okay? You pull 15 tires, and you say that 56% of next year's defective tires will be from the Southwest, blah, 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 Southeast region, and then they say, okay, we're going to put in 5.2 million for defective tires. Next year rolls around, and instead of 56%, it comes out to be 72%. Guess what? What does Trump say? You're fired. Okay? Why are you going to get fired?
Because you didn't do your job.
You didn't do your job. Anytime you're dealing with statistics or probability, make sure you what? Cover your backside. Okay? Whenever you cover your backside, you don't pull 15. You pull 1,500 or 15,000 or 1,000 instead of 15. Okay? You don't go out and pull 15 when you're in charge of 3 or 4 branches, companies, Anderson, Greenville, Sandy Springs, and probably 2 or 3 others over the Southeast. You don't pull 15 tires and go, okay, we're going to base all of Michelin's budget next year on 15 tires. No, you're going to pull 15,000. Or you're going to pull 1,500 from Sandy Springs. You're going to pull 1,500 from Anderson. You're going to pull 1,500 from Greenville. Yes, ma'am.
So, with the physical probability, how did you get that 1/5 equals 2?
0.2.
Oh,
0.2.
okay.
Thing on tenths, 5 going 2 tenths, which is 0.2. That's how I got it, 0.2.
20%.
So, when you, instead of pulling 15, you're gonna pull 1,500 from Anderson, you're gonna pull 1,500 from Sandy Springs, 1,500 from Greenville, then you're gonna put your numbers together. All right? Now, anytime you're doing a presentation, because there's somebody always out there that knows more than you do, just like there's somebody always carrying a bigger stick. All right? You always need to cover your rear end, whether you're presenting for just let's say you're the department manager for a certain department at this company and it's not that big of a deal. You better make sure you cover, or you're going to look like what? You're going to look like a DA up there presenting when somebody else knows more numbers than you do. Okay?
Good answer.
You're right, DA.
A DA?
I'm sorry, dumb attitude. Okay? So make sure you cover your rear end by doing the numbers. Now, let's talk about one other thing, the complement. What is a complement?
Something that goes well with something else.
Yep, good job. Makes up the whole. Think of this statement. Behind every man is a good what?
Woman.
Okay. All right. Or you don't say it the other way around because it doesn't go the other way around. Behind every good man is a good woman. All right. Very rarely do you have it the other way because men usually don't help women out at all. But anyway, some do. Very few do. Huh?
What about sugar mama?
No, he's saying like, so like,
I'm sorry.
think
I'm
about
confused.
Think about husband and wife, right?
Husband and
Normally the
wife.
wife is the one doing everything and being unappreciated.
No.
And the man looks good
Right.
because the woman does all the work.
I understood what he said.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I wish you don't know any good sugar mamas. I need
The
to
woman
know
did
a
it by
couple.
herself, there's no.
Yeah, I wish I had a couple.
But
All right. So what makes up the whole? What is the whole? Well, in probability, 0 to 1, 1 is the whole. But n is usually the whole. N is usually the whole. What do you mean, Hubert? Well, when you have 0 to 1, if I have a probability of 0.65, the probability of a king being picked is 0.65, then the probability of a king not being picked would be 0.35. Okay? Probability of a king is PK. Probability of a king, PK with a line on top of it, is the same thing as an X through it. Okay? When you have a line over it, it's the same thing as an X through it, meaning that not king. Okay? So, how did I get 0.65? Well, if I gave you that. If I give you the probability, all you have to do is subtract it from 1, and that is your complement. Now, what if I give you N, let's say the tires. N is equal to 1,500. I pull 1,500 tires, and 100, probability of a bad tire is 100. Therefore, the complement is a good tire. Probability of a not bad tire is what? 1,400. See, here, the quantity was N, not the probability. So you can have two types of complements. You can have a complement of probability, and you can have a complement of quantity. Okay, depending on what the question's asking. If the question tells you probability, then you subtract it from 1. If the question is giving you a quantity, then you subtract it from N. That's a complement. And complement is usually written the probability of an event happening and versus the probability of an event not happening. And I like to take a red mark and put an X through here so you'll remember that that line right here represents that X. Okay? The complement of true is false. The complement of guilty is
true.
innocent. Okay? Well, what about not guilty? Well, is OJ guilty or innocent? Not guilty or innocent?
Not guilty.
You really think he's not guilty?
No, he's guilty.
He's guilty, but he was found not guilty. All right?
Not innocent.
Well, let's say that Miss Fox works at Papa John's, okay? And she's real good. She's a real good employee, and she's almost manager, okay? And she lives with, who she live with? Pink shirt. What's your last name?
Brown.
Miss Brown. She lives with Miss Brown. They live in an apartment together. But Miss Brown is black sheep, okay? And she's got a job. Miss Fox got her a job at Papa John's, but she hardly ever works because she don't like to work. She likes to have fun, okay?
That's not wrong.
So, what?
That's not wrong.
I'm telling a story here.
Okay, yeah.
Can I be in charge for a while?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, Miss Brown wants to borrow, Miss Fox's car one night while Miss Fox is at work. And Miss Fox says, okay, just pick it up at the Papa John's. I'll come in and get the keys, blah, 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 blah. Well, Miss Fox has been working since 1 o'clock, and it's a Friday or Saturday night, and she's got to work till 11. Okay? Miss Brown, she don't work. She just, does whatever she has to do to get, So she goes, gets a car, and she ends up robbing a bank. Okay? She ends up wrapping a chain around the ATM machine at the bank and pulling it out of the, and dragging it down the road and whatever the case may be. So, about 12 o'clock that night at Papa John's, what happens? Popo comes into Papa John's and say, we're going to have to arrest you. They can't arrest her. Why? Because she's innocent. She will not ever see a day in court. Why? Because these great things that we have called what? Cameras. Okay? That Papa John's probably has 15 cameras around there. What else? Witnesses. Witnesses that corroborate her story. Okay? Witnesses that corroborate. You know what corroborate means, right? It means back up what's happening. And then what does the bank have? Cameras. All right? So, will Miss Fox ever see a day in court? No. Well, why did OJ have to go to court?
Does that have to do with him? Because he didn't have an alibi.
He didn't have an alibi. No cameras caught him anywhere. Nobody knew where he was. He had no witnesses to corroborate his story. So he went to court. That's why there's a difference between not guilty and innocent. Somebody that's innocent should never see. Dang old keep the dadgum body cam on you at all times. That's what it's going to happen. We're going to end up having to all wear body cams. Our young boys are going to have to wear body cams. Anyway, I'm glad our policemen are wearing them. Have you noticed that the attacks on people have gone down? The claims that police brutality have gone down since body cams come out?
Yeah, because
Isn't that amazing? Watch Live PD next time you go off on a policeman. Watch Live PD and see what they have to put up with. All right, so y'all know what a compliment is now.
yes.
Okay, now I'm going to cover one last thing, and that is odds. And I'm just going to cover odds against, because that's the only one you really need to know. Odds against, because that's what pays off money in Vegas, gambling. Odds in favor is the reciprocal of the odds against. So, the odds against is the probability of failure over the probability of success. What determines failure and success? The question. If I ask a question and I ask you, what is the probability of pulling a king out of a deck of cards? What's winning? What's success? Pulling a king. What would be not success? Anything else but a king. So that would be a complement. Most of the time, these two are going to be complements of each other. That's why I had to show you complement. Okay, so if I gave you a question and it says, what is the probability of pulling a king and what is the odds against? You would say, okay, the probability of the king would be 1 or 4 over 52. And then the probability of failure would be 48 over 52. Oops, I'm sorry. Probability of success. My bad. I made a mistake. Probability of success over probability of failure. Always get mixed up. Okay, probability of success over the probability of failure. So that would be 48 over 52 divided by 4 over 52. Now, leave as fractions. Do not change into decimals because you're going to divide by a fraction. You multiply by the reciprocal, which means something's going to cancel out, which makes the math easier. So when you divide by a fraction, you multiply by the what? Reciprocal, as in reciprocal trade, what we have now, which is 48 over 4, which is equal to what? 12 to 1.
Wait, so I didn't know it canceled out like that.
That's what it's supposed to do. You cancel diagonally when you multiply.
Really?
Yep. And vertically, but nothing cancel. Technically, you could do 4 to 48 is what? 12 to 1. You could do it that way if you wanted to.
So
what? So what would the odds in favor be? 1 to 12.
So you turn it into a ratio.
Pour over ratio. Yep. Turn it into a fraction. So what's the reciprocal of 12 to 1? 1 to 12, Hubert. So I need you to write this down and highlight it. The odds in favor would be 1 to 12. Write that down and make sure you know that it's reciprocal. Because I'm not going to ask you on the test odds in favor.
I have
Okay.
a question.
No.
Yeah.
Why?
So, can you really technically convert any fraction into a ratio like
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
And that's the way you see odds against written like this right here. So what does that mean? Well, that means if you make a $500 bet, no, let's make it 100, make it easy math. So you make a $100 bet, you walk away with what? $1,200. Which brings us to the point. Which state is not in the philanthropy business? Which state is in the gambling business?
Nevada.
Las Vegas, Nevada, okay? Las Vegas is not in the philanthropy business. Meaning what? Nothing is what?
Free.
Nothing is free. Okay? Nothing is free. Or as Rocky says, you want to dance, you got to pay the band. If you want the money, you got to pay the man. All right? I ain't emotionally involved, Bob. Give me some money. All right? Nothing is free. If the probability is very high, the payout's going to be very what? Low. If the probability is very low, the payout's going to be very what? High. Okay, so let's write that down. If the probability is high, the payout will be low. If the probability is low, the payment or the payout, whatever you want to call it, will be what? High.
It's kind of the same concept as supply and demand.
It's what?
The same kind of concept as like supply and demand.
Yeah. Exactly. All right. Now, what does this mean? Well, let's do a roulette table. Because that's what they love to do with standardized test questions. All right. There's your roulette table. Roulette table is basically got slots on it like that. 1, 2, 3, ... all the way to 50. 49, 48. Everybody with me? ... Okay, there's two numbers up here. There's a 0 and a what? A double 0. Okay, and there's, I left one space there, I'm sorry. Okay, the 0 and the double 0 are usually green or a different color. And then half the colors are black and half the colors are red. Everybody with me? You can Google roulette table if you want to see what one looks like. They spin the table one way, and what do they drop going another way? What do they drop on the table or around the table one other way? A marble. And where the marble falls, that's the winner. So, let's do the probability. Now, one thing they're going to give you on this, and this is very important that you highlight, these two right here 0 and double 0 are not odd or even. It's very important because that's part of the question. So, I want to know what is the probability of it landing on an even number and the odds, and then I want you to bet $500. Okay? Versus, and I'll go over here and I'll say, versus the probability of a 2 and the odds, and I bet $500. Which one is going to be the better payoff?
Even odd.
Nope, 2, because it's less likely. Okay, so let's look. What's the probability of hitting a even number? Well, there's 25 even numbers. So that's going to be 25 over 52. Okay? Odds. Now, what is the odds against? The probability of what over what? You have to tell me because I don't forgot. Probability of success over probability of failure, correct? Mm-hmm. So the probability of success is 25 over what? No, it's probability of failure over probability of success. Yeah. The probability of failure is going to be what? 27 over 52 divided by 25 over 52. And that's going to be multiplied by 52 over what? 25. So you've got 27 to 25 odds. So somebody take 27 and divide by 25. What do you get? Somebody do that on your calculator. You know, get your calculator out or your phone.
I don't understand how
You
that's a better
ain't got
payout.
there yet. You ain't got there yet. Just wait a minute. Wait till we get to the numbers.
1.08.
I'm sorry, what?
1.08.
Okay, now multiply that by $500. Oops. Multiply it by $500, and what do you get?
540.
540 even?
Yep.
So you won how much?
540.
No, you won 40. You had 500, right? Okay, so you won 40 bucks.
How?
The probability is high. The probability is high, so you didn't win, but what? 40 bucks. Because you multiply 500 times 1.08.
So that's how it works then?
Yeah, you take that number and you make a decimal out of it. 25, 27, 25, just like you did the 12 to 1, 12, and multiply it. Now let's go over here. What is the probability of 2? 1 out of 52. So let's do the odds. Odds against is going to be the probability of failure over the probability of success. So that's going to be 51 over 52 divided by 1 over 52. So that's going to be 52 over 1. I'm sorry. Yeah. So our odds against is 51 to what? 1. Now you bet $500 on that 2. What's 500 times 51?
No.
3,000 or 30,000? 30,000. Somebody check me. 51 times 500. 51 times 500.
25,500.
It's 25,500. Oh, I added the 5. Okay, there we go. So which one's a better payoff? The 25,000. You won $25,000 versus 40.
But what I'm confused about is you said it was 500 either way, so.
You bet, you put 500 on it, you bet $500.
You put 500 in.
But then what's the point of putting 500 when you can only get 40 back?
That's
So
what I'm
you
trying,
lose
that's what I'm trying to
500
get you
or
to
you gain
see.
40?
See, what is the problem? Somebody give me this number right here. What is this decimal?
That, 0.48, yeah.
Okay, I want y'all to highlight that. We're gonna highlight that in green because that's a very important number. All right, somebody do 1/52. What's that decimal?
0.02.
Okay, compare the probabilities. The two probabilities. What can you tell me about the two probabilities?
The one on the right you will most likely get, the one on the left is like,
There is no way you're gonna hit this one. All right, that's 0.02. That's almost what? 0. Okay, so you're not gonna hit it. So where is Las Vegas gonna put their money? They're gonna put their money on this guy. All right? And they want you to try to win it. Are they putting much money on this guy? No. So if you win on this one, you might get $5 or $6. So what you'd have to do when you walk into a casino, you have to ask yourself, what's worth playing? And that's what you're asking yourself right now. And that's the whole point. If the probability is very low, the payout is going to be very high. If the probability is very high, the payout is going to be very what? Low.
So you're saying if hypothetically, if you won that, you would win
$25,000, yeah. Are there people in Vegas that do this?
Yes.
The guy that shot up that concert, he was one of these people. He probably committed suicide because he probably owed a lot of people money. I don't know.
What concert?
the one after where it was the country singer.
Yeah, the country singer that ran off the dadgum stage and wouldn't tell anybody somebody was shooting at him.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And the guy, he shot from the hotel, shot all these people.
And you ain't heard anything about this?
It was like the
Vaguely, I
It's like
have
a year
a
ago.
vague memory of it, yeah.
It was like the biggest mass shooting.
Yeah, in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what you need to learn. The higher the probability, the higher, the lower the payout. The lower the probability, higher the payout. So if you go to the casino and they're going, oh, nickel slots. Nickel slots ain't gonna pay what? Jack. So just bypass that unless you want to just play money. If you want to win something, then you go to this over here. But what's the likelihood of you winning a 2? Very, almost 0%. But if you hit it, it's Party City. Okay? We'll do the card. Remind me to do the cards next time, okay?
What, you mean like bring them in?
Yeah, we're going to do them next time. I got them right here. We'll do it next time. We don't have enough time to get into it today. We'll just have free day next time, okay?
Yeah, we could play some rummy or something.
No, because somebody